Salve a tutti, sono Almarok e benvenuti in un nuovo video. Oggi siamo qui per fare un'intervista a Florian Magnus Maier, famoso per essere il cantante degli Alkaloid e per essere stato anche il cantante di Dark Fortress. Prima di iniziare io ringrazio Florian per la sua grande disponibilità, per aver accettato di venirsi a fare 4 chiacchiere con noi. Vi lascio l'intervista e vi auguro buona visione.
I'm Almarok. I'm here with Florian Magnus Maier from Alkaloid, from Dark Fortress. Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you too. Why you started to do music and why you starting to do metal and your best influences?
I started to want to play music when I heard Yes as Owner of a Lonely Heart, which everybody knows. Starts with a brutal guitar riff. I was 10 years old and I heard I was like, I want to do that. So I told my parents, and then 3 years later, they believed me. And they said, okay, we will pay classical guitar lessons for you because we want you to learn to read music and to do it properly. And if you want to play electric guitar, you have to do that yourself. So I started going to the, beginners guitar lessons, and then bought the worst electric guitar in existence. I saved my pocket money for 1 year and I bought like the worst Les Paul copy you have ever seen, plugged it into my stereo, got the sound like, but hey, I had a guitar. That's how it started. And I met the only other 2 metal guys in my year in school, which also wanted to play. So we started playing, but we didn't know how to play. So the first rehearsal was me with a classical guitar. I knew like 3 chords, and the drummer played on shoe boxes and IKEA furniture with pens. So really, we started from zero. And then I played with these guys until I was 21 and left Germany to study flamenco guitar in Holland. So, okay, this was 8 years. But my main influences when I started, honestly, was thrash metal, because I've been a Slayer fan since I was 11. I bought Alkaloid when it came out, and it was a big thing. And then Master of Puppets and Rain in Blood and Peace Cells were, the First Testament album. These were the things that I was crazy about. And also Fate's Warning and Voivod and Mekong Delta. So both the thrash, let's say, and the prog. And then that just developed and got crazier and heavier. And so I would say that was, at the very beginning, this was who I was. And then I think I was 18. We went with school to see a performance. I think first it was Gustav Holst, The Planets, which has the piece that started metal, which is Mars, the Bringer of War. I mean, maybe the most metal piece in history, because Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath, Am I Evil by Diamond Head, and Hell Awaits by Slayer were directly influenced by this Gustav Holst piece. So, of course, when I heard it, I thought, wow, this is orchestra, but this is metal as well. And then shortly after, I heard The Rite of Spring by Stravinsky, also in concert, which was a mind-blowing experience. And I saw, okay, this is also metal. You can do metal on cellos and violins and clarinets and stuff. So that brought the classical music a bit to my horizon. And then when I was 17, so more or less at the same time, I started to get a bit tired of classical guitar, because many times it's just, 20 pages of bullshit in D major, and I didn't like that. But I heard flamenco for the first time and became completely obsessed by it. So I decided, okay, this is something I want to learn. I taught myself, because there was no teacher where I lived. Then I met a flamenco dancer also in Bavaria, who helped me and who showed me how to play for dance. And that was a job that I did for 12 years after that. And then I heard that you can study flamenco guitar in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. So I tried, and they accepted me, and I went to the Netherlands to live, and I thought I will be a flamenco guitarist, and studying a lot every day. But there were too many things that I like in the conservatory. It was amazing because so many different kinds of music, from every room there was a different, thing, whether it was, jazz or tango or flamenco or classical pop, like everything mixed up. I loved it. Indian music, Turkish music, So I thought, hey, I would like to learn about composing as well, because there's all this music and I want to do something with all these things. So I applied for the composition class more out of interest than anything else. But then after they accepted me, it turned out that composition is what I'm best at and what fits best to me and where I can use all these different influences and make it my own. So at the end, I graduated in classical composition because it allowed me to do whatever I want, whenever I want to. And now almost 30 years later, here I am still.
About the Alkaloid, we are influenced from space thematics, but I said you are influenced from the Howard Philip Lovecraft literature. It's one of the reasons why I started to read Lovecraft, I confess. So
Oh, really?
why this choice? Really?
The choice for Lovecraft, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, it's another thing that I've liked since I was a kid. My mom had one of his books, like a collection of stories, which it was just there and I read it. And I always had a big love for the morbid, let's say, metaphysical horror. I was never so much into like violence or serial killers or those kind of things, but I always liked cosmic horror and the cosmic monsters. And I mean, imagine to my 13-year-old mind what that did, because there was a lot of resonance also to the worlds I have in myself, because I was always a very strange I was a strange kid. I'm now a very strange adult, and I'm quite.
Me too.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of us will know this, and I'm a pretty simple guy and pretty happy. But sometimes what goes through my mind is really strange. It's like, and it's often very hard to describe. And to be honest, in my youth, I was suffering a lot from this because I had like shitloads of nightmares, and for some reason there was this like the things that Lovecraft talks about as fiction in his stories. Somehow it resonated with me because I also had some kind of abyss in myself that would just spit out horror after horror after horror, like things like you dream that you turn into an ant, but in all detail, and then you wake up, you're like, what was this? And this would happen every single night. So I was very grateful to have some authors and some stories, which of course it's complete fiction, but it still helped that you could read from somebody else their own experiences with their own strange things. And I was always an escapist, because I always thought that I was wrong about this, but I always thought the world is boring when I was young. And this was my biggest error. I was completely wrong in that, because if the world isn't one thing, then it's boring. But back then I thought so. So I got used to just escaping, basically, escaping into other people's worlds. And I spent like, when I was in school, for example, okay, you sit in school a couple of hours, but then I was either in the rehearsal room with my band, or I was kneeling in front of my record player with my headphones on, learning, like, just listening to music and learning everything by heart. And just as quickly as I could, like, okay, go away, go out of this world and find another world that is more interesting to be in. So yeah, this is of course a perfect match to, also being a composer and living in your head, and, this sort of compulsive need to create and to think of different worlds and stuff. And I'm actually very happy that I could take all these strange things that don't really fit to what society wants from a like a normal worker, and that I found a way to do something with that. It's also something constructive and something that other people can enjoy. And the world didn't stop me. So that's why I'm still here. I'm still doing it, and I love it.
Alkaloid have released the new album in 2023.
Can you talk about it?
It's a bit hard to describe this album, so I would say, first of all, listen to it, and then you will hear that, like every Alkaloid album, this time also we used a lot of different influences, a lot of different ingredients, because it's always a collection of the things that we like. You know, you always try to write the most interesting music, the most interesting lyrics, the most interesting concepts that you can offer, so you can share it with the world. So what happens to us is, in the time, like the years between albums, of course, each of us is collecting ideas and things that they want to do. And the reason for Alkaloid to exist is exactly that we can write the things we want to write, and that we can, you know, we can say whatever we want to say without having to think, okay, it has to be like this, it has to be like that. And this is something that happened very much in the beginning, why we founded the band as well, because we realized what we would like to do doesn't fit with our other bands. So that's where this band came from. So of course, with every album, we try to go further in that direction. So I think the first album was quite a clear statement, and you know, also different influences, and you can hear that there are different songwriters. And of course, with every album, we try to go further in that. What is difficult about it is that we don't have a preconceived idea what kind of album we want to make, because, as I said, it's really free. So it depends on what everybody has been writing, what the album will be. And then Hannes Grossman, who is, you know, the drummer, but also the engineer and the producer of the album, he has to make sense of it all, and he has to kind of put it all together. And of course, we do this together, but it's quite a complex process until it is really this one unified thing in a way. And what doesn't make it easier is, of course, that in every song we have like 5 different styles of music. Usually, it's just because it's not to prove anything, you know, or not to say like, look how complicated we are. Never. It's never about that. It's just simply the ideas we have. And what is really great is, because, I mean, this took a long time to make this album because of the pandemic and a lot of things that made it complicated. So, you know, we were busy with it for 2 years, you can say, and then it's ready. And then you have no idea if anybody's gonna, you know, actually like it, because you just did whatever the fuck you want. You know, we didn't ask the public what they want, and we will never do that. Sorry, guys. But it's always very exciting that, you know, you have it and then you're super proud. You're like, yeah, okay, this is really it. But you don't know how the public is going to react to it. So we are very happy that also this third album got a lot of positive feedback, a lot of responses, and people are telling us what we feel ourselves, which is that we have managed to grow and to mature in the thing that we are doing, and still having enough, you know, fresh stuff and fresh ideas, because this is always a delicate balance. Like, how much do you stay in what you have established, and how far do you dare to, you know, to take this a step further, or even to step out of it, or sometimes to break with it. So yeah, all this time also goes into these kind of things, and now we are just super happy that we're back. You know, we have a lot of fresh material out that we are super proud. I mean, Numen is it's still lying here on my table, because every day I need proof that actually it came out. You know, it actually exists. But of course, you know, it's finished. So I guess each of us in our heads, we're already busy with the next things, because yeah, it's very hard to stop this. And yeah, so we are very, very happy to be here now, to have this album out, and that the people like it, and that there is still interest in a band. Because, you know, also this is something a bit strange comment maybe, but it feels so hard to come up with something that doesn't exist yet 1,000,000 times, and that still makes any kind of difference, or that anybody wants to hear, because there are so many bands, there's so much music, there's so much talent out there. I mean, it's insane, you know, only in metal already, I mean, how many bands are there? But then if you take art in general, I mean, it's unbelievable how much there is. And then you come with your thing, and you expect that, you know, you will stick out from there, that people even notice you. You know, that's a small miracle. And in that sense, it's also great to see that in the 10 years that Alkaloid has existed, that we do have a very faithful fan base, which is still interested. And with every album, there are also new people discovering this, and this feels really fantastic because it's not something you can take for granted that anybody's going to be interested in what you have to say. So yeah, we are very grateful for that, and of course super inspired to continue.
About your experience with Dark Fortress,
Mm-hmm.
your best memory about this, and why you decided to quit this year in 2023? Why it's over?
It's a big and heavy question. And my answer to it is, it's not because of the people, because we're all very good friends. It's not because of the music, because we really love the music that we were always playing. We love to make albums. We love to play shows. So it's not that we didn't feel like doing that anymore. The reason is more that it just became harder and harder to keep the band alive, because you earn basically nothing with it. I mean, sometimes, but it's not something you can pay your rent from. Like that was never even in the distance on the horizon. We knew that this is not happening. So actually, it was around 2010, 2011 that we hit a crossroads. We had to make a choice. So what do we do? Either we quit everything else that we're doing. We are going to focus only on Dark Fortress and try to make it and try to live from it. Or we quit, or we try to keep it alive as long as we can. And honestly, I don't think any of us would have just dropped everything else that they were doing, because I mean, I was already quite established as a composer. That's my income and it's what I love to do, writing for orchestras and whatever. So I wasn't gonna sacrifice that for a black metal band that wasn't even my own to begin with. Plus you're a third generation German black metal band. And if we had been Norwegian, then it would have had maybe more chance or a bit of a different status. But yeah, for us coming from nowhere, Bavaria, I think we made a good decision that we're not going to try that, because yeah, I don't think it would have worked. And of course, Santura had his studio, and people have jobs and kids and stuff. So it was not an option to go for Dark Fortress full time. It was also not an option to quit back then, because we liked it too much. So what we decided, and this is 12, 13 years ago, we said like, okay, but then we tried at least to keep the level that we have, and we try to keep it alive as long as we possibly can. As long as there's still some way to do it, let's try and do it. So that's what we did. So the short answer would be that basically the first cracks started appearing many years ago. The let's say the realization that there's a limit how much you can do with this band or how far you can go became very clear. And in the years after, well, we did what we said. We kept it alive as long as we could, as long as it made sense. But in the meantime, also, some long-term members that were there for 20 years or whatever, they quit, or they started to like different music, or they, had a job, family, or whatever. So the lineup that I joined, it did erode away a little bit more. So every time we had to also hire substitutes, which were also our good friends. I mean, on the last tour, we had 3/4 of Alkaloid on stage with Dark Fortress. Hannes was playing the drums, Linus was playing the keyboards. It's fantastic. It's not about that, but it did feel like, okay, the thing that it always was, it is eroding, and it's getting harder and harder and harder to keep this thing alive. So actually we decided, okay, instead of just fading away, because that was what was happening. We were basically fading away because everybody was so busy that it became harder and harder to focus in any way on Dark Fortress, even for a part of the year. So we said, okay, then we have we make one more album, like properly as it should be, with everything we have, like a proper album, not some old, bullshit from the trash can, but like a really fresh new album that was Spectres from the Old World. And then we said, okay, we tour one more season. we play as much as we possibly can, so we go out with a bang rather than that we just fade away. Well, that year was going to be 2020. So the album came out end of February, and then, of course, beginning of March, the pandemic hit. And the first lockdown started the weekend that I was going to go to Germany to rehearse for the shows we had planned, because we had a lot planned. We had 2 European tours planned, a West Coast tour in the USA, a couple of festivals, a bit even in South America for the first time and stuff. So we were supposed to play more than ever in 2020. Well, pandemic ruined all that. And then after the pandemic, a lot of the things we had planned were not possible anymore. So actually, it was quite a struggle to even do this final tour. And a couple of festivals that were left, but we lost a lot of things, like South America or US tour, and also a lot of festivals we couldn't do anymore and stuff. So actually, what happened this year, the last tour and this announcement, okay, we're going to quit, that was planned for 2020. And we did think in between, like, especially after the first few shows after the pandemic, somewhere in the pandemic still, we were in complete lockdown in Holland, but we went to Los Angeles to play the California Death Fest. It was fantastic. It was fantastic to be back, fantastic to have stages again and concerts and to get together. It was really a nice feeling. But that lasted for about 2-3 months. And then the whole trouble started that you couldn't fly anywhere because the airports were collapsing, and the venues and promoters started to be broke, and the prices for everything rose, like not for us that we get, but for gas, for electricity, for plane tickets, for transport, for, all the logistics became 3 times as expensive as it was before the pandemic. And that's still the case. So it was really, we were often this close to saying, like, okay, we can't even do that last tour because it's insane, because, we're gonna have to sell our organs to make it happen so that we play in front of a paying audience, which is completely absurd. In the end, it worked well. The tour was great. It was my favorite tour ever. It was really fabulous. I enjoyed it so much, man. I have no words for it. But it only worked because the public was really crazy. Like, almost all the shows were sold out, and we sold all our merch that we had and had to reprint merch and stuff because people supported us so much. But it was an extreme case, because it was the final tour. So we felt in every concert, there's only really the diehard fans. And they came flying from Japan, from America, from Norway, from Sweden, whatever. It was insane. Some people traveled after us, like 4 concerts, 10 concerts. Like every night you would see the same people, but you have no idea how they got there, So this was an amazing and overwhelming experience. And if it had always been like that, then nobody would have talked about quitting, But we also know it was because it was special and because it was going to be the last time. So we embraced it like that. We said, like, okay, then this is it. We enjoy this one more time so that we can quit with a good feeling. And yeah, we did this. And I think it was a really great decision. And that doesn't mean that we never want to do this again, but in the circumstances as they are now, this was the only option that made sense. And it's very sad, and I miss it a lot, and I'm sure we all do. But yeah, there comes a point when you think, like, yeah, sorry, but I'm not, I'm not gonna ruin myself financially or with my time or my health or whatever to get fucking nothing for it, That and unfortunately, in extreme music, that's a little bit the case. And what also doesn't help, of course, is that for your recordings and for your streams and all the Spotify bullshit, you don't get anything.
About your future projects for 2024.
Of course, I'm a composer, so there's a number of pieces I'm going to write, classical pieces. But for the metal fans, we're going to do one thing that is hopefully very interesting to them. We're going to do a big Bach project with Alkaloid. I was approached by the Bach Festival Dordrecht, which is a little town close to here in the Netherlands. And there's a yearly festival around the music of Bach. And next year, they want to do something with metal. So they called me If I can think of a Bach project with metal, and of course I knew it has to be with Alkaloid. And well, we are still in the process of preparing it. It will be end of June. And the idea is that we have 1 hour of Bach and 1 hour of Alkaloid. We will work together with a few selected extremely good classical musicians. So I think we're going to have a string quartet and a piano and 4 singers. And of course, the band, but all of us together are like one big ensemble. And then how I want to do it is that it's not like, okay, first we do Bach and then we do this, but that everything is smoothly flowing into each other. You know, everything is mixed in a way that maybe you don't always know. Is it Alkaloid or is it Bach? Is it old? Is it new? Is it classical? Is it jazz? Is it metal? Is it world music? So I'm going to make special arrangements, not only of Bach, but also of Alkaloid songs for this bigger orchestration, and then see what we can do from this. But this will be a big thing, and we hope to also in the future to do it in other places. And of course, we're going to try and play as much as we can in the normal metal circuit with Alkaloid as well. So at the moment, we're very busy trying to find concerts and shows and stuff, which also is rather difficult, honestly. But we do have some things coming up. So with a bit of luck, we'll play a lot, or a lot. I mean, we'll play more than before, hopefully. And keep an eye out for the Bach collaboration. I mean, of course, we will announce it long before it actually happens. But I would say these are in terms of metal, that's the big thing for next year. Playing live as much as we can and doing a good classical, Baroque music project with the music of Bach.
Advice for young people like me who want to start a metal band nowadays.
First, think why you want to do it. Do you want to do it because you want to get something out of it or because you want to impress somebody? Or do you do it because you feel you have to do it? And I would say only do it if you feel you need to do it. You know, if you don't do it, you're going to explode. So, then you have no choice. You have to actually do it. And then, like in everything else, work hard as you possibly can, because if you want to get anywhere, you have to give it everything you have or everything you can. I mean, not everybody can practice 12 hours a day, but think about what you can give it and then make sure you give it everything you can, because that's what everybody else does. And as I said before, the competition is insane. Nowadays, you are not only competing with music from all over the world, which, somebody sitting in the bush on the other side of the planet, playing something, and a few seconds later, the rest of the world can see it because it's online. So the competition is brutal, and you don't compete only with music from everywhere, but music of all times as well. It is an overwhelming multitude of things. So in order for you to make a difference, you have to give it your all. It's not going to be easy, and you really have to be dedicated and committed to it, because otherwise, nobody's going to care. But that's in anything you do nowadays. So that's pretty logical. Another piece of good advice I got when I was young is don't play with bad people. Meaning, you play with your friends or whatever, and not everybody can be of the same level. That's normal. That's not what I mean. But what I mean is try to surround yourself with people that you can learn from and that you get inspired from, because that is the way also to advance, is if you see somebody in front of you who can do something you cannot, and like this, you work on yourself and you push the bar. And the final thing, but the most important thing that I'm going to say is stay close to yourself. Stay true to what you want to do. Stay true to what you like and what you are passionate about, because you're going to put a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of money into it, to buy all the instruments, to make albums, to whatever, it's really expensive and it takes a lot of time. So you should only put all this time and effort and money and whatever into something that is really yours, that is really close to you. And if it doesn't work with the people you have now, well, for sure there are other people that you will fit to, So don't despair if you're being yourself and you don't immediately find the right connection, because the more special you are and the more individual and the more original you are, the harder it will be to find the people that fit to you, But still, you have to do it this way. If you can, don't compromise on what you say or what you stand for or the music that you play, because all this effort should be for something that you really want, because you're not going to get rich from it. If you're lucky, you're going to get applause, or you're going to get your travel money back, but don't expect that anybody is going to care much about what you're going to do. So who do you do it for? You do it for you. And if you do exactly what you feel you want to do, I think you have a much bigger chance that somebody else likes it than that you sit there thinking like, what do people want to hear? I think it's this. Well, you don't know this. So, this is bullshit to begin with. And you sit like, okay, I'm going to write what I think they want. Well, there's no they. There are many people, but it doesn't work like that. Maybe in pop it works like that, but it's a different kind of talent that you need. Some people are very good in pinpointing the taste of the masses, or what will be the summer hit of next year or whatever. Some people are good at that, and they should do this. But we are individualists. We are the weird people. We are the outcasts. We are the ones that are not part of the mainstream and not part of the masses. We are the leftovers on the edges, right? And metal is we are like a people, man. It's almost folk music what we are doing, because we are the same kind of people. So you have to stay true to this. Do what you believe in, because that's the only thing worth doing. It's hard, but everything else is also hard. So if it's already hard, do it for something that you feel is worth it, always. And don't compromise in that.
So thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for
Sure.
accepting this. And thank you for good luck for new projects.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. And until next time or something.
You're welcome.
Okay, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.